Pain and suffering essentially boils down to what is fair compensation for pain and suffering? I decided to sit on this casual couch and just sit and relax to have this casual conversation with you about a very serious topic. Now, pain and suffering usually has different definitions depending on the lawyer that you're working with. And not all of them are correct and not all of them are incorrect. Pain and suffering essentially boils down to your subjective idea of how much your pain is worth and the objective findings of what the general public believes your pain and suffering is worth. Let me give you an example. So if you get involved in an accident that has a very minor impact and you end up going to the chiropractor 5 times, where they go and adjust you, they do a little bit of electrical stimulation, they massage your back, and after that you don't have any additional treatment. You feel fine, you're not recommended any future injections or any serious treatment. And you decide, well, my pain and suffering is worth $100,000. Okay, well, why do you think that? Well, it's because my time is very valuable. I'm a neurosurgeon and I do rocket science, and part-time I invest in crypto, and I'm just making so much money on Dogecoin that if I would have just taken that time when I was going to the doctor's office and just put it into Doge or some other super duper crypto, I would have made millions and millions of dollars. So because of that, my pain and suffering at a very conservative estimate is $100,000. And to that I say, cool, hook me up with some crypto advice because I'm doing really, really bad on my stocks. But in all seriousness, that's your subjective idea of how much your pain and suffering is worth. And then you have the objective standard. The objective standard is what the general public decides your pain and suffering is worth. The general public is based off of the venue in which your case is going to take place. So if you live in a very conservative jurisdiction, then your pain and suffering might be worth significantly less than if your case is taking place in a liberal jurisdiction. Watch my video on venue where we describe the best cities and the best counties to have your personal injury case and how you can decide how much your case is worth if you're in one of those good venues or bad venues. But for now, in terms of your pain and suffering, the general public might decide that, hey, going to 5 chiropractic visits and having a very minor impact on your vehicle, maybe it's worth $100 per visit for your inconvenience of having to drive to the doctor's office. You had to put your car in the shop for a day, no big deal. You went to the chiropractor for 1.5 hours round trip for 5 different visits. We'll give you $100 per visit for pain and suffering. So the general public decides it's $500, you decide it's $100,000. Now, if you want to settle your case, you're going to be way closer to what the general public believes your pain and suffering is worth. Now, unless you can prove that your pain and suffering is really causing you lifelong damage and pain, then you're probably not going to get these astronomically high numbers. But if you decide you don't want to settle your case and you want to go all the way to trial, and you get the opportunity to present your case in front of a jury, maybe they'll pay you a little bit more. But you have to get 12 people, typically, to decide unanimously that your pain and suffering is worth $100,000 for those 5 chiropractic visits. That's a very, very tough uphill battle, and I'll tell you, me personally, I would not litigate that case if you got an offer for $500 or $1,000 for your pain and suffering, because you're just greedy and your case is not worth that much. It had to be said. That's why I wanted to relax and have this conversation on this couch, because your pain and suffering is not as much as you think it is. So your pain and suffering is really based on the subjective standard and the objective standard. You need to really look at your medical records and the amount of treatment that you endured in order to determine how much your pain and suffering is. If you want a general rule, a lot of lawyers like to say 3 times the medical bills or 5 times the medical bills, but the reason I don't like that rule is because sometimes you have cases with very low medical bills where you go to a doctor that doesn't charge much for a surgery. They charge $3,000 to do a surgery. They're just a really cheap doctor. But you're gonna live with lifelong pain because of that. Well, I don't think you should only get $9,000 or $15,000 for pain and suffering in that case. There's $1 million policy and you're living with a lifelong injury that's always going to bother you, then you deserve to get paid for the totality of your life where you're gonna be enduring that pain. And that's where you get into the mortality tables, life expectancy, life healthcare plans, and future estimated costs. I'm gonna do videos on every single one of those topics, so please do me a favor and subscribe to my channel and like and comment on this video. Let me know your thoughts on what you think your case might be worth or how much pain and suffering should be depending on the case. I'm attorney Ali Awad, the CEO lawyer, and remember, if you call Awad, you win Awad.